Fable 4 has been in development now for 4 years. Previously, all of the Forza games that the studio used to make took 3 years, so we'd generally be expecting to see gameplay and actually start to see a lot of trailers come out for the game, and yet so far all we've had is cinematics, which are unrelated to the actual game. They've got heavily review bombed on YouTube. The devs themselves haven't released a single interview, and yet we have a ridiculous amount to go over here simply because of the history of the people behind Fable. And also, by the way, the game engine that Fable's running on is actually a old racing game engine. And so you got to think, like, even things like facial animations, physics, so like as you move around and you move past a can, does it move? Simple things that you expect within RPG games like that, you know, opening up a door, simple animations, all that kind of stuff within the Forza game engine is going to be very rudimentary, again, simply because the game's meant for racing. So of the overall picture that I'm trying to paint, that's the far small bit. Next bit that I want to touch on here is the music. You got to imagine the people that made the music for Forza probably aren't exactly experts in making music that would make sense within a Fable title. And look, I hate to be a dick, but I'm just going to say it. If I look at the narrative lead, for example, they quit in 2022, fine. I guess the narrative was done by that point. She actually was okay, to be fair. She has a pretty good track record. But the lead writer previously worked on Crisis 123, which I know for the story, Batman Arkham, which apparently the story was very mid, and then Suicide Squad, which totally bombed. And so I don't see how the writing of this game is really going to be up to snuff for what we would expect from this type of title. Another big part to me that I think a lot of people forget is that back in the early 2000s and even mid 2000s, pretty much all the RPG games didn't have amazing gameplay. So say for example Morrowind, Oblivion, Mass Effect 1, we had like The Witcher 1, Witcher 2, which were good for their time, don't get me wrong, in terms of gameplay. They certainly weren't revolutionary, and relative to modern standards, whether you think about, say, Witcher 3. You look at Mass Effect Andromeda, even though the story was terrible, but the gameplay there was really good. So you've got to imagine, not only did the devs have to totally rework their game engine to work on a totally different genre of game that's the polar opposite of a racing game in every single way, and they got to figure out the story. They then also have to figure out the gameplay mechanics, which you got to think has changed so much over the last 20 years. These days, a lot of games are just being sold off the gameplay alone. You've got Wukong, you've got games that have also great story as well as amazing gameplay, you know, God of War, Bloodborne, Persona, Horizon Zero Dawn, and so many other games these days that I think have created a certain standard that people expect. There's only a few games like, for example, Elder Scrolls and Fallout that can get away with substandard gameplay these days. Most studios are held to that higher standard. And the thing is, I'm literally just trying to be realistic as what really I would expect from Fable 4, to be honest, because I think a lot of people are huffing a lot of copium right now, or hopium. Now look, what I've said so far seems quite negatively slanted, but you've got to keep that within the context of I've done a lot of independent research in making this video to try to find some slithers of positive news to give you guys. You know, I even went as far as to research a lot of the lead writers and stuff to try to figure out, is there anything going for this game at all that I can kind of bring up? The only thing is there seems to be some video game journalist which got DM'd in private, some leaked gameplay apparently. It 100% has not been released to the public, but that bloke in a podcast like 2 hours in mentioned that he saw gameplay and he said it looked fantastic. And he said that a few weeks ago. He doesn't know when the gameplay itself was recorded and how old the build was. But yeah, that's the only positive bit of news that I can give you about Fable 4. Everything else to me is signaling off red alarms in my head. Now also, to be fair, with all of this being said, there is a tiny chance, to be fair, that the stars aligned and somehow these mad lads managed to pull off something that on paper seems impossible. But right now, I just don't see it. I'd love to hear everyone else's thoughts in the comment section. This is a quick update video, nothing too long. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm out, GG. Bye-bye.